Spartans to Halo Book Club, part of Evolved, your home for Halo. Halo Book Club goes beyond the video games and covers Halo's extended media lore, which is rapidly running out. Oh my god, comic books and more. So I'm your host today, David, and with me is once more Ian.
I'm here again.
Ian, this might be the last time for a while, but let's see.
Maybe
Well, let's
we
see.
got a while now for till the next book or anything. I think.
I know we're real slow getting to this one, but here we are, and it's kind of like a wet fart of an end. I think kind of like wet. We kind of like they weren't too bad, and some of them were okay. This one, I got nothing on this one. So today we're doing the Halo Fireside, which is the last of the Halo kind of Chronicle series that they've been doing. It came out in like February, so like we're a bit away. We're pretty sure there's not any more of these coming. Um, so just before we get into it, if you're new to the show, welcome. Halo Book Club is part of Evolved, which has a whole bunch of other Halo kind of themed shows. We have a regular podcast Evolved, we Mission Debrief, Builds of Blocks, Pro Talk, Halo TV Plus, and more. If you want to learn about all of those shows, go check out our website, which is haloevolved.com. It's a pretty badass website, so go check it out. If you're already a fan, rate us and leave us a review. We always like to hear feedback from our guys, and we have a whole bunch of patrons, fantastic people who really do support us for why no one knows. They're there, they're amazing. So
Yes,
thank you all
thank you.
so much for keeping up the work, keeping us here. um Even though we've been slow. Our latest, or sorry, no longer our latest, but we have a patron-only exclusive podcast that Ian runs himself. It's I Would Have Been Your Podcast. It is kind of off-topic to Halo, so it's just about life and everything, and patron questions and responses and stuff like that. So go check that out if you would like to be a patron. That's patreon.com/Halo Evolve to learn more. We also have an Audible support kind of link, which is very handy. So all of the Halo novels are all pretty much on Audible right now, as well as like as you can imagine, thousands of other books and bits and pieces and programs and podcasts are all over there in Audible. So if you want a free trial, go audibletrial.com/halo. Sorry, try again. audibletrial.com/podcast evolved to learn more and start your free trial. There you are. So, Ian, here
Yes.
are some facts that you did not know. It's called
Uh,
Fireside.
okay.
Alex Wayford wrote it and was published by 343.
I think I
Uh,
knew all that actually.
Yeah, no, you didn't know it.
Oh, okay.
It's available on YouTube. They also have a PDF, so you can listen to it on their website. You can also read it. I only listened to it the once. I was not bothered going back to read it. Ian, did you read or listen?
I listened to it
Okay.
with the captions on just so that I
Oh,
could
so you
try
did both.
to absorb as much as I could, but then as it turned out,
It's
not
not
a
much.
whole lot to absorb.
No, there's not a whole lot there. So like I mentioned, this came out in February 2024. It came out on the anniversary of Halo Wars 2. So it's actually heavily themed towards the spirit of fire. As you can imagine, there was a lot of themed content for Halo that came out around that time.
Yes.
So here's kind of your quick summary. So Halo Fireside, it's a short story entry in the Waypoint Chronicles series, written by Alex Wayford, like I said, published by 343. It's the 7th anniversary of Halo Wars 2 release. Um,
Crazy.
it is, yeah, it is crazy, isn't it? Um, it is like a compilation of little stories of scattered around the Halo universe of the crew of the Spirit of Fire and their ongoing kind of conflict on the Ark, which kind of happened at the end of Halo Wars 2. So Halo Wars 2 had some DLC, and one of those, I think the last one was Operation Spearbreaker, which had some kind of campaign DLC as well, and introduced some kind of new characters for us. So these are kind of touched on here in this little kind of short story. Like I said, it's based around May 2559, which is the timeline of that DLC. We're in the Ark. There's a bunch of characters that kind of chop in and change. So Isabel kind of kicks it off. Then we transfer over to Cutter. Then we move to Cassano. Cassano was a DLC kind of multiplayer-esque character. Um, her backstory is kind of interesting. She should be more interesting for what she is, but she is just a DLC character for multiplayer. Um, so unless you were really into Halo Wars, you probably are not too aware of her. She's an ex-insurrectionist, that is like a Hellstorm, like one of the flamethrower dudes. She leads a squad of them. So she's kind of a badass,
Yes.
but kind of lost to the annals of Halo lore timelines. And then it cuts back to Isabel, or no, sorry, it cuts back to Sunray 1-1, which are like a kind of, let's say, the new ODST team. They barely tried to make work with some kind of canon fodder and DLC. So you played as
Yeah.
this team. It was kind of cool. I remember liking the missions, but really wishing there was more to them at the time. Um,
Yeah, that
did
was
you
the
play
first.
the
I
DLC?
did.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was the first campaign DLC. I think that
First one? Okay.
was that free? It wasn't. I think it was. It was either. I thought it was
One of them are
free
paid.
DLC.
I can't
Though the
remember.
big one was the what was it? The flood one. I'm blanking on what that DLC was, but this was like the Operation. Was it Operation Fireside? Was that what
Yeah,
it was?
this one was. Hold on. The expansion was released alongside Serena Lily DLC, which was bundled. Oh, it's a bundle for
Operation
$9,
Spearbreaker.
or it was a standalone purchase for $6 if you just want the Spear Breaker and not the Leader DLC.
Mm.
It
That's
was
must have been
also
what it
there
was.
was a Halo Wars 2 season pass, so maybe you had that and you
Yeah,
didn't realize.
that's probably what it was.
Yeah.
Operation Spearbreaker was the DLC. Yeah,
Yes.
it was. I mean, there was like I don't, what was it, like 3 missions, which is like
It's
there
pretty
was no
short.
cutscenes in 3 missions. I remember it being fine, but it was. I don't think it was taken super well by the community just because it didn't provide us, I think, as much as people had hoped,
Yeah.
even though it was really cheap.
Yeah. Pretty much. Um. So essentially, I'm gonna go just through this kind of really quick. So it starts off with Isabel just shiting on about trying to analyze hope and understand what it is. And then it kind of cuts to Cutter as he's kind of regaling us of his what he does every day is he wakes up super early, like the first person on the ship, and he walks to the observation deck, which is where Serena's lab was. Not Serena, sorry, Anders' lab was, and he kind of reminisces a little bit about Serena, which is his original AI, and Anders, who left during the story of Halo Wars 2 on a ring to go and kind of get help. And then she hasn't returned. She said it would take me a couple of weeks to figure out how to get back. It's been a couple of weeks. She hasn't come back. So he's kind of starting to worry a little bit. And that's kind of it. He's just kind of thinking about his current situation. The only interesting point that popped up there, which I don't know if I was aware of, it talked about how like the whole mutual respect and bond between himself and Aatrox after he kind of defeated Aatrox. Aatrox is like, okay, Cutters is kind of a badass. He offered him like you're allowed to leave, just leave the arc, and I won't fight you anymore, as like a measure of respect slash probably a little bit of worried about how well Cutter was doing. But then Cutter kind of says it's interesting that like Cutter wouldn't have left, but he can't because there's no slip stitch drive on the Spirit of Fire, so he
Hmm.
literally can't go anywhere. But Aatrox doesn't know that. So I thought that was probably the most interesting tidbit out of the story. I was like, oh, I didn't really realize that, but that's okay. Then the story cuts to Lieutenant Colonel Morgan Cassano, which I mentioned. The most interesting about her is her backstory. This is kind of nothing. She's scouting on a warthog with some hornets, a area called, she refers to it as Site Ricochet, which I looked it up. It's a multiplayer map sentry. So she's like essentially checking out this area. It takes place in this multiplayer map, scouting this base. A forwarder construct comes up and kind of kills a bunch of banished, and then she kind of tells uh, Cutter, yeah, this is happening. He's like, no, get out of there, come back. There's a attack happening on a fort over here. We need your help. So she kind of leaves. That's kind of it. She reminisces a little bit again on where she came from. It's like, okay, cool little backstory. She was an insurrectionist and she is now in the UNSC slash the offshoot is Spirit of Fire. So that's kind of interesting. And then the last section talks about Sunray 1-1. They're the ODST troopers, like we mentioned. They're literally at a fireside, having a little chat amongst themselves after the mission where they just assassinated a chieftain. Um, this was kind of mentioned in a can of fodder 100 issues, so we're talking like way back. So that's it. There's a little bit of chit chat here, back and forth. Nothing really of consequence happens here, and then it kind of shifts its story back again for the last couple of minutes to Isabel again talking about hope, and that the symbol of hope is maybe fire. Oh my God, fire! Spirit of fire! Spirit of hope, and then it ends, and that's it. Ian, I don't
Yeah,
have anything else to say about it. Do you have anything else
that
to say
you
about it?
literally said like the whole thing. Like
Yeah.
I don't know the the Isabel portion at the beginning, the end. Like I don't know, was that? It felt kind of like an essay, like an essay on hope that she was writing for her class. Like I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, it's like a little bit odd.
For
And then
baby AIs.
yeah, and I don't know, it was. Uh, I don't even know. I don't even know that I can form a good opinion on it because it doesn't provide anything of substance for the most part. It's
Yeah.
like little tiny bits that of stuff we already know about it. I mean, I guess it adds a little bit of context here and there, but it really doesn't add a whole lot of anything. I mean, the whole thing is 25 minutes of audio, and it covers what 4 separate basically four separate
scenarios.
people,
Yeah.
their little bits of narrative. So it just kind of sounds like it mostly just walks through the. I guess it would have been. I guess this would all have been um, post like the Halo Wars 2 campaign, right? So it's kind of covers the time between the end of that campaign and then the beginning of the the Flood DLC, which I'm still forgetting the name of, Nightmare or something, Nightmare,
Yeah, sure.
whatever the heck. Yeah, it feels like, yeah, it's just
Awakened
sort of
Nightmare, Nightmare,
there. It
something like that. Yeah,
is,
yeah.
there it is. Awaken. Yeah, whatever. Anyways, yeah, it's like okay, fine. It feels like almost these were uh, what were the little things you collected in the game? The audio logs. What were they called?
Phoenix Logs.
Phoenix logs. It feels like they were Phoenix logs that were on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, this exactly ties into a few of those as well, I think. So, yeah, this is the end of it. Obviously, there hasn't been anything since. It's been months. They like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with this format. I kind of like it. I just didn't. There wasn't anything much
Yeah.
to it. Like for the length of them, you kind of felt like. And I know it's just one dude reading a whole lot of them. Um. But I kind of felt like they could have done maybe something more interesting. I don't know,
Well.
or kept it going, or kept
Yeah.
a consistent story across them. Maybe would have been better. I'm not sure. Um.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of felt like they needed something, and maybe they had some content that maybe hadn't gotten published yet, so they went with that. This was certainly of all of these Waypoint, or the Waypoint Chronicles.
Waypoint
Um,
Chronicles. Yeah.
yeah, they definitely feel like this is the least substantial one by far in terms of actual story content that you get, because you don't get any new events. You just sort of get the brief thoughts of, and maybe a couple small conversations, maybe, of a couple of the characters, and that's really it. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I don't know. Like I said, I don't even know. I don't even know that I can form an opinion. There's just so little here to work with, honestly.
Oh, okay. I've just found another one in that came out 2 months ago.
Oh well,
Oh,
crap. Well, I
sugar.
guess this isn't the
Okay.
last one now.
I'll see. This is 27 minutes. Oh, sugar. Okay, it's not the last one. So maybe we have a redemption arc here. Let's see.
Oh,
I'll
okay. Well,
look into
good.
that later. I'll look into that later.
Good.
Because I'm looking at them all on the table. So I guess because we don't have to talk about this one, I was going to say let's look back in all of them. But
We got one more to go.
since we have another one, maybe we won't. So I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
I
sure.
guess the only thing I will say is, and this is probably was just a throwaway line, but it does end with uh, Isabel saying, "A spirit of fire is a spirit of hope," whatever. Ugh.
Hmm.
And then ends with, "All it takes is a spark." And I'm like, is that some sort of reference to 343, Guilty Spark? Like,
I don't know. I
is
mean,
that
it's
is that foreshadowing? I don't know. I'm just
who knows.
probably looking way too into this.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Maybe that's, that's what I was like, oh yeah, it does take a spark to come and rescue you, because I have been on this on that thought basically since Halo Wars 2 came out, which is now 7 years ago.
Hmm. Well,
That
that's the
that
thing,
was
right?
the yeah,
We're not going to talk about the rest of the stories because we'll leave that for the next one since we know we have another one.
right.
Um, I think one of the biggest kind of misses slash things I still really love about Halo is the Halo Wars Spirit of Fire story arc. I still love that. I loved
Yeah,
the
I
premise
did.
of it. I kind of
Mm-hmm.
like. I mean, okay, they did shoehorn it in to get Halo Wars 2 kind of related to the rest of the narrative, but I was still excited about that. I mean, the bringing of the Banished is such a big thing because it obviously gives us a non-covenant covenant enemy to fight, so that we know
Right.
that okay, people like fighting the covenant, but covenant don't exist anymore, so there's only so many splinter factions we can fight. How about a whole new Banished, a badass kind of enemy leading them? I think they've built up Aatrox so well, and then they
Mm-hmm.
kind of okay they took him and brought him into Halo Infinite, which was the correct choice to do in terms of like who the enemy to fight in that game. So I guess I want more Spirit of Fire stuff. I don't know if I want it in this format. I mean, a proper book would be pretty
Yeah,
badass, you know. Let
yeah.
me
I
know.
would like to see them. I'm well. I guess I'm less confident now. I was pretty confident that they were working eventually to get
A third.
Spirit of Fire. Well, I was gonna say just the story of the Spirit of Fire brought into the main story, just the way they brought the Banished into the Infinite, and they kind of left it open that in the novels. I guess this will be spoilers for anyone who isn't up to date on the novels, but like um, Ryan Forge's story about trying to
Hmm.
search for her father and all that. And I was like, man, I feel like they're gonna eventually come across the Spirit of Fire, um, and then kind of get something because they're stuck there until someone finds them, right? But like she's out there searching for him, and she has like I think well now she has Spark, Guilty Spark with her, so like he I feel like that was the plan. Like they were gonna eventually tie those stories together, and but now it's 7 years later. It's like, are they going to, or they just
Yeah,
did they just drop that too? I don't know.
quite possibly. I'm not sure what they would do next, but like, it, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like they could build up whatever is coming next in Halo 2. Aatrox is still around. He's still a guy. He's still a force. I mean, it'd be
Mm-hmm.
cool if maybe we had a game of him versus Chief, and maybe then the kind of the bringing it all together would be the return of the Spirit of Fire, of Cutter having to work with Chief to kind of
Mm-hmm.
actually defeat Aatrox. I would love that so much if they figured out a way to bring all of these elements together. But
Yeah, I was pretty confident that that was I mean and maybe it was the plan at one point, but
yeah,
like they that yeah that ship and Cutter and just the whole team was really set up well to be to kind of maybe take the mantle of the primary story. Um, maybe not with the exception of Chief, but you know there was a lot of good characters there that you just didn't have anymore because they'd all died off in the main story, right? Like
yeah,
you know they died in either Halo 1 through 3 or then you know maybe in Halo 4, but um, yeah, a lot of those characters had died off, so I I thought that would have been a good tie-in just in terms of narrative, but you know I guess not, or maybe you know maybe we
yeah.
will eventually. I don't know, but it's been
And
7 years. It's now been longer from now until from when Halo Wars 2 came out than when from Halo Wars 2 came out to Halo Wars 1,
yeah,
or
scary,
just about. It's terrifying.
scary.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, there's stories for there, like you said, like Reinforge going to try and find her father. Obviously, that's not going to end well because we know the Forge is dead. But her
Mm-hmm.
finding the Spirit of Fire would be like a satisfying conclusion and a way to kind of
Yeah.
bridge the gap there. And then obviously they have the loose thread, which is Anders on the run. We have no idea where she's gone. She teleported
Oh, right.
via a ring to somewhere. Do you know what I mean? And like that's a huge plot hole there. I mean, we
Right?
were
Wasn't she going to the Reach system
that was the thing. Like
or
I can't
somewhere
remember
or
if she
no,
had a
somewhere over
location,
there, yeah.
but like
Somewhere. Oh, she was going to where Installation 04 was originally.
yeah,
That
that
system, I
makes
think,
sense
yeah.
that, because it's a replacement ring for that.
Yeah.
Um, so like she's got to be found or picked up there. I mean, like I know with the
You would
created
think.
messing everything up, who knows what is where, but like that's a huge thread that you can pull on to bring the two universes together,
Mm-hmm.
right? The two separate parts. So I mean, and
Yeah.
Anders is great. She is the replacement for Halsey. Do you know what I mean? She is the young version there
Well,
of
right.
the Francis
Exactly.
we could bring in. Um, she's cool. I mean, bringing her together, maybe meeting her and Rion, that'd be awesome. If that's how they went back through to the Spirit of Fire from there, that'd be dope. Um, there's lots there to do, and then obviously seeing having Red Team rejoin. And seeing like the chief, and we've had the blue team get together. Do you know what I mean? And in Halo
Mm-hmm.
5, having red team get together now, I think that'd be awesome. I'd love to see those guys get back together.
Yeah.
Bring more Spartan twos back into the mix. Do you know what I mean? So
I agree,
let's do
but
it.
you know, I don't know where we're. I don't know. This is way beyond what
Yeah.
the topic of this
No,
podcast is
we need
about.
something
But
to talk about, and this it's
I
Spirit of
know,
Fire
There's
related.
really,
So I'm saying it's
but
good.
well, it's funny because like they did a good job of character development with Halo Wars 2, just bringing in some new characters.
Yeah.
They were still they were kind of fresh, but they still kind of filled similar roles that existed. You know, for Halo CE and all that, and Halo 2, Halo 3, like there was good characters there, and they're just sort of stuck in limbo, you know, outside the galaxy, basically in lore, and you know they can get back. I mean, even freaking Atriox got back, right? So they're there and they can get back. I feel like they could easily show back up, but I don't know. You know,
Mm,
it's that's not a story problem. It's you
yeah.
know, it's a what are they gonna do? You know, with the franchise problem.
I know. And I remember us spitballing way back of saying, "Oh man, what if the ring that we're finding in Halo Infinite is Anders' ring and Anders is there?" Like that would have been the way to do
Right?
this.
Yeah, yeah, you
Um,
could have done that.
but it didn't. It didn't. Anyway,
Yeah.
it is what it is. Ian, let's wrap this up because
Yes.
I think we've already done a fantastic job of padding out this episode to make it actually worth listening.
Agreed.
So I'm quite proud of us there. So everybody, thank you for listening. Like we thought this was the last one, it's not the last one. We had that revelation on this show live. That's exciting. Um, so like we mentioned top of the show, you can find every episode of Evolve shows on our website. That's haloevolve.com. It also features links to our Discord server, Facebook group, Patreon page, and Xbox Live Club members, and all that kind of stuff. Should you want to know more and connect with us, again, our patrons, guys, you're amazing. Thank you so much. That's patreon.com/Halo Podcast Evolve to learn more. Like I said, we have the voicemail function. It exists. Instead, we have some hilarious non-Halo stuff in there,
Yes, we
various
do.
missed calls and whatnot. So there's a show coming where we're just going to listen to the madness that is people ringing the phone number. So that number is 205 evolved. That's 205 386 353. Oh, sorry, that's a mess. 205 evolved. That's 205 386 5833. I don't know how to use that number outside of America, but there you go. It
Starts with a
exists.
one. Starts with a one for all you international folks.
Interesting. Interesting. So that's it, guys. I've been your host, David, and until next time, evolve.
Evolved.